Hey, welcome everyone. It is 9:04. Sorry, we're just running a little late. We're making some adjustments to our agenda this morning. It is August 13th, 2024. We have Commissioner Jordan is on Zoom and Commissioner French, Kearns and CUNY are here in the conference room. We're making some adjustments. So at the top of our agenda was Kevin Ritchie. He will be here around 10 o'clock. So we are going to go ahead and get started with item O, which is Jim Amacio is going to be speaking.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, Board of County Commissioners. This item is similar to one we had some time ago. As you know, property owners like to annex into the boundaries of fire protection districts so they get the benefit of the fire protection services. This is the second request we have from property owners to annex into the district, fire protection district number 13, of course, which is in Commissioner Kearns' commissioner district. The state law provides that you can annex under either of two methods. One, the election method, and two, the petition method. If you annex in the petition method, you have to have property owners who represent 60% of the land file a petition with the fire protection district. When they file the petition, the fire protection districts holds their own public hearing to determine if the property should be annexed. If they determine the property should be annexed, they send their resolution to the county commissioners. The county commissioners then by law are required to hold a public hearing on the decision of the fire protection district and make the ultimate decision as to whether the property should be annexed. In this particular case, we have 6 parcels of property within the boundaries of outside the boundaries of fire protection district number 13 that are requesting to be annexed into the boundaries. The 6 parcels are owned by 5 property owners. All property owners have requested the property be annexed. Upon the submission of the petition to Fire Protection District number 13, on July 18th, the Fire Protection District held a public hearing. They recommended that all 6 parcels owned by the 5 property owners be annexed into the boundaries of the district. The Fire Protection District sent their resolution to that effect to the county commissioners. The purpose of this briefing is to advise the board that this afternoon at your 2 o'clock consent agenda, you will be setting a public hearing to consider the action of Fire Protection District number 13 for September 10th, 2024 at 2 o'clock. At that time frame, you will consider the approval of the Fire Protection District on the annexation of these 6 parcels within the boundaries of the district. After the public hearing, you will make a determination as to whether or not you agree on the annexation, and if so, you'll sign an order to that effect. Unless the board has any questions, that's the extent of my presentation.
What would be a possible reason why you would not agree to a process that's gotten this far?
It would be very hard for me, Commissioner French, to come up with the reason. And it's interesting to know that if we had a boundary review board, this would go to them, but because we don't, it comes to us. But to answer your question, public health, safety, and welfare are one of the factors, Commissioner French, and also the benefits of the property owners.
Oh, I don't have any problem in terms of the why we do it, and especially with wildfire season. I don't believe the Surveying Rating Bureau, when they rate for insurance purposes, that if you're in a fire district, you get a better rating than you do if you're outside. So I don't have any problem with that. I was just curious, anticipation of what could be a reason why not.
A possible reason, Commissioner French, might be if during the course of our hearing, we discovered some issue with the original petition that was submitted to the Fire Protection District, which triggers this annexation. But I can tell you that the Fire Protection District scrubbed that petition, and they have advised the board that it is 100% of the property owners want to be annexed.
Thank you.
Any further questions, Madam Chair? Thank you very much, Madam Chair. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Okay, that's next going to take us to Matt Zerkor and Kyle.
Morning. I have a few items for the board today to consider. The first one is a TIF lift reimbursement request, lucky number 13, from River Crossing LLC. Next slide, please. This is for the portion of Mission that you can see on the screen up there. The entire TIF request is really just the roadway and the water main running under it. Next slide. Well, that's it. It was a pretty straightforward request. We have a pretty good process in place now on our end. We go out, we field verify that it's there, but we already have the acknowledgement of Liberty Lake Sewer and Water District and also the city of Liberty Lake that the improvements were built to their standards and the inspection was appropriate and complete. So high level of confidence on this one. Barry Green did a staff report that's available if you have the interest, but it's a good reimbursement request and we recommend approving it. Happy to answer any questions.
How much more work is yet to be reimbursed from this TIF ballpark?
You know, don't hold me to this. I looked through it this morning. There's a current balance of a little over 11 million and they have, I'm gonna say a half dozen various improvements slated to be done out of this TIF. And then the ending fund balance was around 2 million. So it's a variety of different improvements. One of them was improvements to the hub, the basketball facility out there. And it wasn't just road and infrastructure, it was a variety of things, but that's
Right.
in that range.
Okay.
Happy to get you more information.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I just trying to get a range of where they were at.
Yeah, and those were all slated, you know, they have like a 3-year range on each improvement and they're all gonna happen in pretty quick succession if they stick with that scheduling, because by 2026, they had most of it built is what it looked like.
I'd be curious if you could give me that information, just since it's my district and, you know, understanding kind of what they're anticipating out there.
Yeah, I'll send you the document and if you want more backup or more information, just let me know and I'll round it up.
Okay, that would be great.
All right.
Commissioner Jordan?
Can you just remind me what the process is? There's no kind of review committee for these, right? It comes right to us. Is that how these requests work in this particular TIF?
Yeah, you can explain the process again. I mean,
Sorry,
Yeah.
I might have missed that.
We essentially administer the TIF and the lift for the city of Liberty Lake. And they submit reimbursement requests for us. There's enabling legislation, prior resolutions for the TIF and for the lift. And so those reimbursement requests come, they're proportioned out between the TIF and the lift. I believe this one was 30% TIF and 70% lift. And then those numbers get kind of vetted through us. And really, they're trying to protect that fund balance on the TIF. It's what's driving the 30%. So that's how they got to this proportioning. And we agreed to the proportioning. It's kind of a discussion point. And yeah, that's the process.
and it's the city of Liberty Lake that actually determines the use of the funds.
Got it. That's what I was just wanting to double check. Thank you.
So we're just ensuring that the funds are available and they're to and reimburse upon it. And it is on a reimbursement basis. We don't give funds in advance. Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. The next one is a series of road name changes in an establishment. They're all related to Bigelow, the current project we're doing. Next slide. So I think you're all familiar. We're doing the last phase of Bigelow, kind of starts at the edge of the city limits there. Yes, we're all very happy about that and goes up to the connection on Wiley up top. You can see the red line there. And so the first proposal is the establishment of this new section of roadway. Next slide. This one shows it about the best. This is all the little remnant pieces that were going to remain in place to provide more access to the neighborhood. We can't obviously abandon all that road and all the connections. So there's a number of road name changes. You can see that little green line below the yellow line. Yellow line is the new Bigelow line. The little green line below it is a section of Newton Road will be the new road name. These road names, maybe the board's already familiar, but the process for road naming touches a lot of people. We work with Shrek to make sure that it's going to work for emergency services. It goes through our folks, trying not to duplicate road names, trying to make it so it's easy for emergency services when they get a call to figure out where they're trying to go. Then the red line above it, you can see is going to be Lancer Road. And then the road off to the blue line off to the very right is SV. And then it's really hard to see this one, but there's a couple of little pieces of orange that are almost under the yellow alignment, and that's gonna be Wiley. That current alignment is more or less Wiley, so it makes sense to keep those portions Wiley Road. And this is, the next slides are really just blow up of those pieces. If you want to go to the next slide. This is the one that's gonna become Wiley, that shows it a little better. The red segments are the portions of roadway that are gonna remain for access, and that'll be Wiley Road. Next slide. This portion is Newton. It's just a little eyebrow that has access for a number of lots. And next slide. This is Lancer. So anyway, just some new road names. I think we have one more. This must be SV. Yeah. And this portion is going to be SV. It ties into existing SV road. See it continuing north there. So that's it. I'm happy to answer any questions about that. People will get notified and you may get some calls. Changing people's address and road names is never very popular, as you might imagine. It impacts them in a lot of ways, but we're trying to make it as seamless as possible for them and give them plenty of time and notification so they can make adjustments.
So in terms of funding, have we now secured 100% of the funding necessary for Bigelow Gulch? Or is there still a couple requests out that we're hoping to get funded?
I check into it before I committed to that, but I believe we have everything requested on Bigelow.
Okay, because had a FinCIT meeting yesterday, and there was a funding request for Bigelow on the list. I'm thinking that we were funded and stuff, so you can check that. So I need to know whether I need to follow up on that or not.
Yeah, something look into it.
Okay, thank you.
When we awarded this, we were over. So we'll look into that to see if we try to shore up some of that.
Yeah, I just need to, I need to be pushing for it or not.
Absolutely. I'll let you know. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Got one more for you. This is the amended annual construction program. And I think the board knows what this is. This is essentially us shoring up our program and what we actually ended up building this year. There wasn't a lot of change this year in our bids. You've been seeing them one at a time, but I'm sure you've noticed our bids are much better this year. We're getting generally 5, 6, 7 competitive bids. And oftentimes one or two of them are below engineer's estimate, which makes sense. We drove up our engineer's estimate because our bids were getting so high. But we are seeing a much more competitive bidding environment, which has been great. So this first slide, you can see this is just broken out by category. The first one, urban construction, is 8.7, rural is 13.2. Then you can see $1.5 million in pathways, 1.6 in traffic safety, 4.7 in bridge, and 299 in stormwater improvements for a total program of 30 million. Next slide. Here we just broke it out by funding source, and we always like to showcase that this is about an 8-to-1, a little over that. So we're at like a 87.5% match. It's I think what it is.
Doing an incredible job.
Yeah, it's our team. They are phenomenal at finding money for us. We're very grateful for them. But you can see about 4.4 county dollars in it compared to 17 million in federal, 7.5 in state, and then 1.1 in local. Next slide. I think that's it. No, I don't know. You got your project highlights. So we talked about Bigelow a little bit. Obviously, very happy to be done with the corridor project. Excited to see what the next chapter is going to be for us. We're also in the process of developing next year's 6-year plan. And there's a lot of really good projects on there, and we've already started seeing some of our grants come back. So we're shoring up next year's project, and that funding is getting secured. The 57th Ray Roundabout, built that. That was a really nice project. Turned out really good. Yeah, we were really happy to be able to do it with concrete. It was striking how small the incremental increase was to do concrete compared to asphalt. Because there's no comparison in terms of maintenance. We have our Waikiki roundabout that we're getting close to needing to do something with because it's an asphalt roundabout. And if it was concrete, we won't be moving back. Those become 30, 40-year surfacing spores, and even then it's trying to profile grind, if anything, to maintain it. So very excited to be able to do that one in concrete. We're going to look very hard anytime we do a roundabout now at that increased cost. And funding agencies have been conversational about the increase to the concrete, which is very helpful. Because obviously it's in everybody's best interest, because we have to come back to them later if we do have to reduce. So yeah, that one's really good.
Yeah, we've been pushing that agenda both at Crab and also at TID in terms of, going to concrete, because the funding to come back and redo it and stuff is just drying up, so.
Well, and just from the stewardship of public dollar standpoint, I mean, it is a far better investment. I mean, it was like a 20% increase in cost over asphalt, 5 times the life.
Yeah.
So
No,
it's,
and it looks great. I've been on it a couple times now, so you guys have done a great job, so.
we were really lucky. Good contractors, good inspection.
Yeah.
Next one's Freya Street Preservation. This is just up south of the connection of the NSC onto Freya Street down to Francis Avenue. That one's just a grind and inlay. Started Hatch Road. You may have been getting some calls. It's a difficult one in terms of routing the traffic around. It's very, very urban and primarily one way in and out. People are finding a way, but it's creating some challenges with the neighbors. We're working through those. Brooks Road, well underway, 3.2 million. And then Harvard reconstruction, that's coming along well too. And the Little Spokane Bridge, they demoed that and they're trying to get out of the water. They have a water window on that they need to be out of the water. So they're working hard to meet that and looking good so far.
Okay, so I'm assuming Hatch Road or something, period.
North Hatch.
Yeah, yep,
So yeah, so,
from midway north. And it's 2 phases. We'll have another phase next year, doing the rest of it out to your area boundary.
okay. I would just say next time, if we have the visual of where it's at would be helpful. Just to,
If you know where Midway Road is, you know right where it's talking.
well, yes, but I don't know where it is, but, and I know there's a Hatch Road in my area, Al's area, so, as well as Freya.
We got a lot of hatch.
Yes,
Yeah, and we should do some better pictures. We'll do that next time.
just,
Yeah. Words
just
of
to help
thousand
give us,
words.
yes, thank you.
Yeah, also should have- yeah. Oh my God, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, appreciate it. And then we got Doug joining us.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
I'm here to talk to you about tax title property. We've got one that we can go through and put up for an auction. And so instead of doing a live auction like I usually do, since we only have one parcel, it didn't make that much sense to do that. So I'm gonna try to do it through GovDeals, which will be less money for the county, I think, but they'll put the parcel more expensive to buy. But I think that this would be a good thing. Once it's gone through this auction, if it doesn't sell at the auction, I can sell it over the counter for a year afterwards for the minimum bid that you've set. And so I'm asking the commissioners today to set the minimum bid on this piece of property for $2,440. That's 50% of the assessed value. And that's per a resolution that the commissioners passed back in 2013 on how to set the price for tax title property.
Okay, so just because it's hard to see, so it's just literally the little
That
sliver.
little triangle that you see there, it's got the highway on one side and it's got a railroad right of way on the other side. So it's practically landlocked except for that one farmer on the side. It's 0.61 acres. The setbacks from the freeway and also from the railroad, I mean,
It's not buildable.
yeah, it's a very core piece.
Okay,
And so we've had it for auction for, this is its 5th year. But that included during the pandemic and I didn't hold an auction during that time period, so it's more like it's at its 4th year being here. in an auction.
The farmer that feeds into it hasn't.
I send a letter every year to anybody who's adjacent to that property. So I send to the railroad, I send to that gentleman as well. And so I haven't had any bites. Well, I've had lots of people calling wanting to put billboards on it, but I send them to building and planning. They don't come back that much.
Is the adjacent farmer farming property?
He's off to the side of that triangle.
But is he farming the triangle though?
No,
Okay, okay.
so that's what I have on this property.
I think it's whatever you think is best. So, have we used the online auction site?
Not for, we've used it for Dishman and Appleway. And unfortunately, we didn't get not even one bid on that property, but we put it out there. And so I will be bringing to you again to go through and do gov deals again with that property, but I want to change the resolution such that it'll state that I can sell it over the counter on our website if nobody buys it at that minimum bid that you've set. And be able to sell it to the first person who walks through the door for the minimum bid once we've gone through one auction. That's what I want to set it up like. So with the tax title, we do that already. Once we've had an auction, we can sell it over the counter. Questions? All right, then I'll go to the next one. Next one is our property out on University and Appleway. And this piece of property we acquired in 1995 for Valley Couplet. And it had been an older laundromat. We bought this property for $74,432 at that time. And the STA, can we go to the next slide? Thank you. So STA is to the south of this piece of property. And I had this piece of property appraised, and it appraised at $514,000, but that was in June of 2023. And STA had it appraised by Lembeck, and it appraised for $492 on April 3rd, 2024. So that's the most recent appraisal. And looking at it, I thought it was a good appraisal. So we're suggesting that the board let us sell the property for $492,000 to STA.
I sit on STA. What is the thought of STA?
Well, I mean, so the conversation that I remember, correct me if my memory is wrong here, Josh, but we're buying it for future options, be able to expand a park and ride there and future transit operations and stuff. So there's no immediate use where it's an opportunistic kind of an approach to just basically tie it up before it goes away. And stuff, so
Any way
is that
to,
fair?
I think so. Yeah, that's what I recall.
to look at that with because we have that property over by the fairgrounds that we keep wanting to get from STA.
I know.
Is there any way to,
Can always take it back. You tell Deborah to counter. You do a trade.
But in the problem, the difference between the two properties is the fairgrounds property they use for training and a bunch of other stuff. So they've got multiple facilities going on there and stuff. This is not big enough to do that with stuff. So,
right,
yeah, we wouldn't, a trade wouldn't make any sense because we would have to still find another piece of ground to do what we do over the grounds.
right, or we just
can ask.
write into the agreement that it would be able to be used for that.
There is always that as well.
Yeah, I'm just,
We've tried to push everything under the sun there.
just second, Commissioner Jordan, I just wanna, I'm just looking at it from that perspective,
Yeah.
that it could be. The other thing that this property, obviously it's my district and I drive by it all the time. Is there's a lot of affordable housing that's going in, going in along that edge, so this is a prime spot potentially for that, too, so, but I can see STA wanting it to expand, so Commissioner Jordan.
Has it been deemed surplus by the county?
Yes.
We have surfaced it in the past.
Okay. No, I
This
can,
has come up years, like when I first was commissioner, it came up and it was too low of a price, I think, at that time.
yeah. Well, just looking at it for the first time, you can clearly see why STA would be interested in it, just, given the proximity. But I have the same comment as Commissioner CUNY that seems like a potential opportunity for some kind of affordable housing related use as well. So maybe it's something we can look at. My understanding is there's a state law that allows local governments basically to pass an ordinance that allows for low cost or very low, or maybe no cost, I'm not sure, transfer of surplus properties for affordable housing purposes. So I don't know if that's a barrier that we don't have such an ordinance at this time, but just something I'd like to work on if there's interest from other commissioners.
Yeah, I think though, like there's still to me, this is a property that we have, the potential for almost $500,000 to the county, that I wouldn't just give the property away. I think that ordinance is talking about that we would just let them have that property, if I'm not mistaken. Where we have an opportunity, that we can, because this has been surplus for quite a while. So anyway, so the fact that we can have either gain, revenue, or try to figure out a way to work with STA to maybe get the property that we've been wanting for a long time over by the fairgrounds. I would like to at least look at that. Kyle.
Just a reminder, commissioners, that this is owned by 110, so this would go back to the road fund.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
And my understanding with legal proceed is that should the commissioners, make a deal, whether it's for housing or something along those lines, the road fund still has to become annual.
Yes, so,
Well, and the property over by the fairgrounds, is that owned by the county, not the road fund?
That's owned by the commissioners.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
It's
there
part
are
of the
two different
fairgrounds.
accounts that don't have the property. Oh, no. The SDA property over there, we don't own.
yes,
Oh, the other property right adjacent to it, we own.
yes.
Yeah.
Which is why it'd just be nice to.
Yeah.
Move that in. But yes, and we may still have to make sure.
Can we give Deborah direction to say, we still want that property by the fairgrounds? Can we work a deal?
See if we work a deal.
The parcel number or where?
No, if you go on Scout, you're gonna know.
That's right, it's just to the south.
Just to the south between the
Between the
railroad
fairgrounds
tracks.
and the railroad track. It's parking lot right now.
Can you help us give a little more direction? Are you saying we're counter offering? What are you asking for, a land swap? Are we a counter offer? Are we just including in we want first right of refusal for that property?
Wheel and deal, see if you can get us that property. Use this piece as your leverage, because they want it, we want something they own. Get us the best deal you can, Deborah.
But Commissioner, the road fund has no interest in that property.
We'll figure it out. We'll make you whole at the end of the day.
Just so you
We'll let Scott work with you guys on this.
Just so you also know, at one time, the county was interested in purchasing that piece. If it's the one you're talking about, and we did find some contamination that one.
Definition on it, yep.
And so be aware of that. I still have those records of when we did go and review that piece of property. If you want me to bring them back to life.
Yeah, I think Scott, let's put you in charge of kind of at least vetting this. I mean, just because I know it's, like I said, since I've been commissioner, it's been, you know, a piece of property that the fair would definitely see and like, because I think we used it in the past for extra parking during the fair time. And then STAs didn't let us do that, so we had to readjust things at some point. I don't know if they're letting us do it now or not. So I mean, there's history to that, you know, that as long as we have an opportunity to maybe just have a new discussion, I think it'd be worth having.
I'm understand what the commissioner's intent is. I know what property you're referring to.
All we're gonna do is just ask and see.
Will and Beal, they did give us a time limit on
It looks like,
responding to their offer. So if I craft a.
which were
email-
already passed.
Yeah, but they extended it with an email saying that they would wait for me to meet with commissioners. So I'll just respond that we'll go through and try land swap with that. See if they'll accept that.
We have a couple of commissioners that sit on their board that would help.
Tell them you know people.
Okay, I'll let them know I know people.
I can give you the parcel number here if you want.
Okay, great. Thank
It's
you.
35143 dot 0420.
All right, well, thank you.
Okay.
One more public works item for you all, with Eric Collar here to talk about the Inland Lake.
Morning, Commissioners. Here to discuss the Newman Lake Water Quality Improvement Project. Been working on for the last couple of years to replace the oxygenation system with a new line diffuser. We had the bids out for about 4 weeks. It closed on the 31st. We received 2 bids. The low bid being from Hallmay Construction. We had a base bid and a bid alternate, and their bids were about 6 to 8%, respectively, over the engineer's estimate. And they also exceed our available project funding. And it's by about $300,000. So we met with the Newman Lake Advisory Board and discussed this last week. And our recommended action is to award the bid for alternative 2, because it provides about 50% more oxygen to the lake for a small increase in price. We've got the ability to get a loan from the county and or receive additional ARP funding to cover that cost. The goal is to, go one of those 2 routes so we can preserve the district's fund balance, so we can be able to pay for change orders that may come up, as well as paying the loan off. And if with the loan, we would not have to raise the assessments for the residents out there. The contract award is tentatively scheduled for the August 20th consent agenda. If you go to the next slide, please. It's the bid tabulation. Can't quite see it very well. So we just split it out by 3 line items: the in-lake demo, in-lake installation, and all other work. The big discrepancy was with the in-lake demolition due to the Washington DNR's requirements to fully remove the pilings that support the speed cone. So alternative 2 down at the bottom is about $2,074,000. And there's another $150,000 for construction management we'll report to pay to our contractor, and we have about $1.9 million available. Yeah.
Can you explain the situation with the pilings and how they want us to end that, and how common that is to be asked to do something like that?
Yeah, so there's about 10, 12 pilings that are 30 feet in length. They're about 20 feet embedded into the lake. And they want us to fully remove them instead of just cutting them off at the sediment line. And it pretty much doubled the cost estimate for this demolition. I'm not entirely sure how Comet is kind of out of my wheelhouse, but it's a big ask.
They've started going this direction towards removing all man-made elements in their bodies of water. I'd say historically, this is uncommon. Historically, I think they're doing this probably statewide now is my assumption. Honestly, it doesn't make a lot of sense. It's gonna disturb a lot of nutrients subsurface and bring them into a nutrient impaired water body and likely degrade water quality, all for the sake of saying they've removed these piers. It's a decision we push back on. It's a decision we don't like. It represents a huge chunk of the cost. When you see those numbers up there, you're talking about close to 30% of the entire project cost is to pull those pilings out.
So I was, no, I was going to ask if we as a board send a letter to Hillary Franz, the director of DNR, requesting that, I don't know if it would be granting us a waiver or just telling whoever's beneath it, no, they don't have to remove but I wanted to bring that forward, see if that's something that we could just send a letter. I mean, stressing that, hey, you're gonna stir.
Yeah.
You're gonna stir up all this stuff at the bottom of the lake you don't want stirred up. To do this, allow us to cut them off, which has been historically standard procedure, and proceed with the project as initially planned. So I was just thinking if we could send a letter from us, from the BOCC making that request.
So is that a motion?
I
Second it.
I mean, I'd be happy to. I would request that we ask Senator Patton to
Okay, we can ask him to do the same thing.
sign on, and then, or, the reps from the fourth as well, just because.
Yeah.
I don't understand, because especially if it's, yes, as you pull up those pilings, yeah, you're gonna stir up everything. You're gonna now have holes that it's gonna continue to be flowing in and out of, that will make the water quality worse, which is what we're trying to fix.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's, in this case, we're not trying to remove a dam or any of that. We're trying to improve the quality of the water, and this is, I think if we have, I don't know if we, what our evidence is to show that it would, to prove, it's like not showing at this point, be, proving the theory that it would decrease the water quality by doing that. I think we, definitely have to have that in the letter to say that's gonna make this first, because I don't think we've done it at Liberty Lake, when there's some old pilings off the park area there. It doesn't make sense to me either, especially if you can, if it's, we can go down and cut them at the sediment level.
Yeah, that'd be a lot cleaner for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
There was the initial recommendation from our consultant would be to do that for cost efficiency and water quality purposes. So it was DNR that changed that once we started working with the permitting process, because they hold the aquatics lands easement forcing our hands.
I guess otherwise, I hate to spend $2 million to have the water quality become less. And, so then what's the purpose of really doing this?
I don't think the sediment distribution exceed the positive impacts of the project, but it's not helpful. And it's certainly burdening this community that already pays, unlike most other communities, to keep their water quality reasonable. And it's certainly another financial burden that these folks will have to take on.
It's state water, so if they want this additional item, then I think the state should pay for it. The other approach. So I don't know, I agree, a letter with several things listed out as to what the problem is with it.
I wonder if there's an angle to also CC Department of Ecology on this. It's the DNR. They control it, but ecology has a lot of oversight in terms of water quality and other
Yeah.
in water bodies. So that might be something, and perhaps those two coming together might see the benefit of not removing those pilings. Yeah, we're just cutting them at the sediment line. Yeah,
So, okay,
So we have a motion and a second
yeah,
to,
so I'll
right?
I'll just confirm what it was, yep, that we write a letter to Department of Natural Resources, to Hillary Franz, then I thought like Scott's idea of CCing Department of Ecology on it, just sort of requesting that we not be required to remove these pilings in their entirety, but be able to cut them off at the sediment level, which has traditionally been the practice as a part, and then sharing any other concerns we have with the requirements of this project. To be signed by a majority of the board other than open public meeting.
And I'm still seconding it, but I do have a question. Do you want to add Fish and Wildlife to it?
I think we can send it to whoever else. Oh, give permission to staff to send it to whoever else you think should be included on the CC line.
Commissioner Jordan.
Commissioner Kearns, can you just articulate why you think the board should be the one to send rather than staff, Public Works Department or others?
I was just thinking kind of courtesy of elected official to elected official. It usually carries a little bit more weight.
Okay. And I imagine that Public Works would be taking the lead on drafting it.
Yes, yep.
Okay.
Yes.
And then just to clarify for Kyle, if we did not need to remove the pilings, how would that affect the cost of the project?
It would probably drop that in-link demolition cost by half. Just rough estimate, which is pretty much the delta of what the budget allows currently.
And you think it would be, I think you stated this, but it would be worse for water quality if those had to be fully removed, in your opinion, at least in the short term?
Yeah, I think in my opinion, of our water programs group, it would have a more detrimental impact on the lake than allowing those islands that have been there for
30 years.
30 years to just remain below the sediment level and
Okay,
age gracefully.
thank you.
Steel.
Commissioners, I would just also make one comment. I love some support for additional names of ledge and folks who would be happy to sign on. We would prioritize getting this out the door very quickly. The in-water work is likely one of the first orders of business for the contract.
Yeah, so for the fourth legislative district would be the three legislators that I would have signed on to it because this is their district. So it'd be Senator Patton, Representative Schmidt, and Representative Christian. So the three of them at this point in time, because they're the city legislators. So I'd have them sign along with this.
Sure.
So, okay.
Just a clarification, are we supposed, I can't remember if we do a motion in these briefings, are we supposed to open it up for public testimony?
Yes,
Just
that's
a question.
about what I'm gonna do.
All right, thank you.
I always wait, so when we do it like this, I've just determined that we do the motion in a second, so it's actually an actionable item before I open it up to public comment. But I make sure we have all of our comments stated first, so the public knows exactly what we're thinking for the motion. And so now I will open it up for
Okay.
public comment, since it's where we're at. So since we do have a motion and a second on the table, and this is not on our printed agenda, I am opening up for public comment for anyone that would like to discuss the motion of this letter. Second call for anyone wishing to comment. Third and final call for anyone wishing to comment. I am not seeing anyone in the room or anyone online, so we'll close the public comment and look to, and then ask for the vote. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. So motion passes with the four of us that are present unanimously. Thank you. Yeah, I think that'll be great to do that. So, and yes, I would say as quickly as you can. Just because I know. I mean, because I think that conversation I'd like it to happen before we award the bid, or do we have to award the bid?
We wouldn't be able to
That's the next
timely rebid it's a significant chunk of the work that we have to negotiate it out of the contract. Because otherwise, if we were gonna completely bid, we would have to rebid the project. So my thinking is we award the project and negotiate with the contractor a revised price for that item.
Make sure they're aware, just because if they bid it thinking they were removing, right? Then if we don't, I mean, see if they can, in the contract specifically, then as you contract with them, lay out what that specific amount is.
Yes, we'll have to be careful. We can't negotiate with the contractor between bid time and.
But what I don't wanna do is sign a contract that that they have to do it. And then if we don't have to do it,
We'll explore our legal options on that.
yeah,
What we might be able to just do is delete that entire item of work and then change order.
that may be,
So I'll explore that with our.
okay, that'd be great. I just don't want us locked into it if we don't do it.
Could you treat it as an alternate at this point, since you didn't bid it that way? I mean, when you're doing the contract negotiation, just. Modify it that way.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
alternates have
I
to be
know.
three, so if we just
I
delete
just
it,
thought I'd go for it.
but yeah, check with legal, I just don't wanna,
Get hosed in a change
I've
order.
certainly negotiated with this contractor before and had very reasonable changes negotiated. So I'm optimistic about that. Certainly the commissioners make goes to award. The contract isn't signed at that moment, so I'll make sure we're clean.
Okay.
And we'll protect the counties and places.
okay, thank you. Okay,
Thank you for your support.
thank you.
Appreciate it, Commissioners.
So, yeah, like, let's go ahead, Mike, this is the contract with Washington State Healthcare Authority, Medicaid reentry.
Don't hide over there, Justin, you're not here.
So we're going to item number M on today's agenda. Okay.
All right, good morning. We're here to talk about the reentry initiative and at the conclusion of our presentation, we're looking for authorization to sign the contracts to get forward, moving through the milestones and get the project initiated. So Gina, you have the slide. Pardon me?
Who's gonna pull it up?
One.
Oh, Ron is pulling it up. Okay, sorry. And now I can start here, Ron, if you want to make it full screen.
Can you see it?
Okay, yeah.
I think that's as big as it goes.
That's-
I think that is full screen.
Okay, no worries. So part of the reentry initiative, it's part of the 1115 waiver. And this is portion that has to do with the incarcerated population. There are some three primary things that have to occur, and there's some optional items under the contract that you could do as well. But there are three primary things that have to be addressed. One is case management while they're incarcerated as part of this program. The second is medication assisted treatment. We currently do have that at a limited basis, but to expand that inside the jail as well as part of this initiative. And the third is having a 30-day supply of medicine or medical components that they need once they're released from custody. Next slide, please. And the way that this is set up, the initiative, it's based on milestones and achievement of milestones. And once you achieve those milestones, then the funds come in
So we've already completed milestone number 1, which was a letter of intent. It was due. Milestone 2 is an implementation plan, which I'd like to get going right now, and I'll talk a little bit about that. It's due October 1st, and I think that he'll certainly use all of the time moving forward to put that into place. And then there's a readiness assessment that takes place in 25. Then actual go live happens in July 1st of 2025. And I don't know if I mentioned or not, but we are cohort 1, which, you know, we want to get going on in progress right now. So, and there's some other milestones that need to be achieved along the way. As I stated, each time that you achieve one of these milestones, the associated funds are with it. There is a proviso also for some IT support to use for developing the billing strategy. This Kevin. Sorry, Kevin, I took your spot.
No.
It's all good. Just keep going.
Okay, so next slide, please. So kind of a project plan that we have right now is. Next slide. There it is. Okay. Is to utilize and secure Eric Green as a project manager. This has enough moving parts, enough collaboration, and enough things that have to be coordinated that it does warrant a project manager. He would have 50% time allocation to Real-Time Crime Center, and I have been in contact with the sheriff's office. And they're very excited that Eric's going to be able to use the remaining of his time to work on this project. The other 50% would be allocated to the HCA reentry initiative. And I believe that the Real-Time Crime Center, some of that's art money that has been allocated for that portion of it too. Depending on how this goes and the amount of money that is in both of those funds, then maybe I may approach the board to look to see if we can't bring him on as an FTE, as a project manager at some point to take on continued support for this project, but also address other projects that are associated with, you know, different departments. So his first thing would do would be develop the implementation plan and start working on that milestone 2, and then he'll get us ready for the readiness assessment and then ultimately the go live process in 2025. Juvenile has expressed they would very much appreciate this rolled under one project to work together just to keep the collaboration going. So Tori will have someone assigned to this project. Justin has also got someone assigned to this project along with Eric Green and the coordination piece of all of that. So I see it going along pretty well if we get started on it. Under the contract, we received 2.5 million for downtown detention services, an additional 2.5 million for the Geiger facility, and juvenile received 2 million as well. So. And it.
So yeah, so I guess to have this for the healthcare authority, because also the 1115 waiver goes through that.
Yeah.
But they're reimbursing us, correct? I mean, part of this is so the 1115 waivers, so that way the feds are paying for the cost of the mental health services that are needed for these individuals.
Well, there's two key parts of this.
Yeah.
So the reentry initiative, being a part of cohort 1, allows us to ramp up so that we can begin preparing for that reentry services. This does not mean it's replacing the Medicaid dollars that are already now available as part of the 1115. That actually will go into effect January 1st of 2025, which means providers who want to come in and provide a service can bill Medicaid for that service for the Siri code or whatever that is that's being provided, as well as the medical provider within the facility. These dollars are separate from that. So while they're billing for services, this allows for the county to prepare to either support EMR implementation, tracking systems to allow for that data to be reported. Some counties don't have a separate medical provider that has it already set in there, so they would need to develop a whole system to bill. For example, currently juvenile does not bill Medicaid or other services. They could potentially either set something up if it's feasible or not. Jail mental health also does not bill for medical services, for behavioral services. This could theoretically, from the state's perspective, allow for either pathway to allow for that support to occur. Again, separate from the Medicaid dollars that are already available to bill.
Okay. So these contract dollars, are what are these for, to help get us up to speed? So I mean, so they should be paying for the cost of the
Correct.
individual.
Yeah.
Not like we need to be using any other funds.
So,
It's-
yeah, there's, you know, there's the IT portion of this too. You have to have the infrastructure in order to build back on it. So we're gonna have to identify, either have the provider do it, which is a good route to do it. Or you would have to have some additional work on the IT side, and they have funds that are allowable for that.
But, okay, so when I see the contract amount for us to do this, and then I go back a slide and we say, approach the board to hire as an FTE as funds
That
deplete.
would be totally separate from that.
I mean, I would think we'd have those funds would be enough to help us get up and going, and we wouldn't be coming back to us.
Right, and what I'm speaking of is that initially we would cover it with the funds, but there may be a point that I may approach the board for Eric Green, is all I'm saying.
Yes, which would be for other projects
Correct.
beyond.
Yeah, that's why I said
Separate
for other
state
related
funds.
projects or what have
Okay, which there's no guarantee.
Correct.
That's
No
really
guarantees.
future funding, but I mean, so I just wanna make sure that from the state right now, kind of like when we went from the regional support network to for PHASO, they gave funds to help transition. So those are what these funds are, is to help us transition to this, which is awesome. And should be enough to help cover these costs.
Yes, ma'am.
That's, yes, and that was a fight to get these additional dollars. We were able to secure the almost $6 million when they originally just wanted to give us 2. By having both sites separately identified, so Geiger and the jail. So it was a win on our team side to convince the state to give us this much money, which is great. If we spend it all, if we don't, being a part of cohort 1 is absolutely wonderful too, because it gives us the option to evaluate. Does not mean that if we enter in this contract that we don't, and if it doesn't feasible to walk away from this on the 3rd, which is March, whether or not the feasibility review will determine if we can move forward. So I think that once we sign that, we get that 150,000, gives us that project, we'll have a better idea. And I also, and I think this is what Senator Sparber was mentioning about coming back to the board. It could allow for us also to support additional services provided by the medical contractor, whoever the board decides for that, moving forward in the future to support other efforts they may be doing. So it could support offsetting costs as well.
Well, because I know with the 1115 waiver, right now it is just the mental health,
That is correct.
which we at Wausau have been fighting to say that you have to have the whole health, you know, as or before you work on the mental health side of it. So if somebody has, you know, heart issues and diabetes issues and all of that aren't being treated, it's like you've got to get those. So because we know that can have an effect on your mental well-being. So I think, you know, so there's more coming, you know, from this. I mean, hopefully this gives us, and hoping further basis for having those discussions. And I think why it is important, as we move forward with the medical contract to have it be integrated with our medical, because this is showing that how the two are going to be very integrated. And then if we don't have the ability to bill, like if juvenile doesn't bill and our current mental health is not billing, we have to be able to bill because we're gonna get reimbursed for those services.
Yeah, we talked about that. And so the next slide kind of gives down the breakdown of the money that's associated with the milestones. And it's pretty much what you just said, Madam Chair, broken out by chart, so. And it's kind of
And this is all being paid for by that
but
contract.
out of this initiative, yeah,
And thank you very much for working hard to get
okay.
the extra money.
Yeah, we're working on it. So what I'm looking for today is permission to sign the contract and Tori also to sign the contract and to get the project underway and moving with Eric. What I'm looking for.
Good. Commissioner Jordan?
Just trying to clarify a few things. So the contract is that to receive the dollars from the state?
So the contract, once we did our letter of intent, we have 150,000 right now that we could do upon signing the contract that would be sent to us. that's starting. Is that your question, Commissioner?
Well, I'm just trying, it says contracts and there's three different ones with 2.5 million for detention, 2.5 for Geiger and 2 for juvenile, right?
Mhm.
So those are contracts, I assume, with the state to receive those monies and then to have certain deliverables. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And then what's the length of time on the contract, just out of curiosity?
I don't know that. You know that. I know it goes out to 27, but
Yeah, the initial contract is following, let's say, fiscal year July 1st to June 30th of next year. So it follows that cycle, and then they will they usually amend, kind of like ours on the ASO side, in January. Then they'll also look to for that cycle and then restart the contract again July 1st. So it's for a 12-month cycle, but by agreeing to that, you're also in that first cohort that goes out for 2 years.
cohort one.
So do we receive all of that 7 million up front, or how does, I'm just trying to understand the total amounts I'm seeing, and then when does that arrive? Just a little bit more in terms of what are we talking about here?
So Commissioner Jordan, can you see that chart that's on there right now?
Yeah.
That's kind of how the money is allocated out. There's also, if you look under the IT portion of it, there's money available to help with the IT support and developing the infrastructure around it. But it's allocated out by milestone and milestone achievement.
Right, but that's not adding up to $7 million.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
Just go ahead.
if I could, Commissioner Jordan, this is an example for one of the contracts. So like for detention services, these all add up to 2.5 million. So you'd use the same percentages that would apply to Geiger and the same percentages that would apply towards the juvenile. So this is just a sample of what, say, detention services would look like.
Okay.
Is that helpful?
Yes. And then the go live date would be mid next year. So that's when we would really start with providing these 3 areas of service.
So the money being provided now is to plan for that. They're hoping we begin January 1st of 2025, but there's no expectation for that. March of next year, we'll have the requirement for us to actually have feasibility. They are saying we have, as part of cohort 1, till June 30th, but they're hoping sooner. So that's why they're giving money up front to ramp up. But again, we don't have any projection for our project plan, so the state's not expecting anything. But to your point, that is correct. They're not expecting anything to go live until July of next year as a requirement.
Okay, so that's go live with pre-release services July 1, 2025. What does that mean? Just can you clarify that piece?
So there's a development of the plan, we submit the plan, there's funds to be available after that. The state does an assessment to make sure that we in fact have met all the conditions, we're ready to go. Then after that's done, then the go live would happen, Commissioner, in July 1st. Go live means we've got the green light to go ahead and we start with the process.
And they'll continue funding on a reimbursement basis.
Yep.
Up to those amounts.
Well, we should already have actually quite a bit of the money up into that point. What it means is by July 1, the state is expecting that we'll be providing case management services as part of that, either delegated or part of an integrated service within the jail. And then the opiate and MAT treatment service, either as part of integrated services or delegated. And then the third one is
Caseworkers.
yeah. There's 3 other elements that we could, if we put in the plan. But that's what they're saying on our end we need to do. January 1st, providers can already come in and bill Medicaid. That's why they're saying, well, if they're coming in, but you don't have case managers, you need to work that out. So they're hoping January 1 that we start testing, but by July, they don't expect that we don't actually have it in place until.
Yeah, even when you sit in those meetings, there's lots of questions surrounding this and going back and forth with the state, so.
There's still a question on post-adjudication versus pre-adjudication. What money can be used to support it. Now, that case management can be provided to all individuals in the jail, but the actual release services that are being provided, the language that the state put in as part of the 1115 waiver was open-ended, but the feds came back and said, no, it's all post-adjudication. The state is saying, no, that's not what we said. So there's still waiting clarity on, is it everyone? Because if it is just post-adjudication, that's a very, very small portion of the population. And it would really be geared more towards Department of Corrections. So we're working with them to get more clarity on the language. They have not yet given us that at this point.
Any more questions or?
No, I think it's sometimes with these new programs with the healthcare authority, as we saw several years ago when we went from the regional support networks to the behavioral health administrative service organizations, if I
Excellent, yeah. You got it.
take those acronyms and make it the words, the RSN to the BHASO. You know, it's a learning curve for HCA as well as for us. And so that's kind of why they have these funds out there to help do that. And with us being part of cohort 1, then that means we're helping them figure out how to do this better for other people that do it in the next cohort. So it's not gonna match up exactly today. But it's gonna be beneficial for us to move forward and kind of be a guidance for them. And then their assurances as these milestones are met, that we're doing what we need to do to make this happen. So.
And then I do apologize, Commissioner Jordan. I should have put per contract on the top of that table. That probably would have clarified that a lot better. So my miss on that one.
No worries. I was just trying to understand the mechanics a little bit better, but I appreciate Commissioner CUNY's point. And I just want to echo as well, kudos for really pushing to get as much resource as we can to try to make it a success. I appreciate that.
So
I think we're good.
we have the head nods to
Yes.
get going on with this.
Okay,
Thank you.
Preston, before you go, one miscellaneous item is looking at employee recognition certificates and all of that. That I think talking to legal, what I'd like to do is develop a policy where department heads could do certificates of recognition that are for their employees that are not, a means of promotion or any of that, and in their personnel files as means of benefiting them from a personnel basis. It's just recognizing the work that they've done and the achievements that they've done. And so if we'd like to develop a sample one that we put in the policy, but in the meantime, Justin has one that he's a sample that he has that he would just like to have all 5 commissioners sign for his employees that received recognition at NACO for the Teen Text Line Little Student Wellness Program over the past couple of years. So I would like to give the okay that we're willing to do that, but we will develop a policy that then will be reviewed by the board. So we don't have to do a resolution every time we'd like to do this.
Do any of our departments, I know the sheriff's department is overseen by another elected, but you guys have an awards banquet and
Yes.
everything where you.
But we don't sign.
Yeah.
All 5 commissioners
That's the only issue is you want the commissioners to sign up. Oh,
Yeah, to
Like-
develop
Sure.
a policy so that the board can sign all of these without having to do that in an open meeting every single time.
gotcha.
And so the
Okay.
policy would dictate kind of how, when and how and what they are used for in order to ensure that the board does not need to take formal action every time as long as they're not being used for official action type of purposes or personnel action type of purposes. Then
Yeah.
that's doing that outside is just fine. So we'll follow up with a policy that just lays all of that out and then otherwise shouldn't be any issues.
which would be great. And as the chair of the board, I sign on behalf I just, I don't know if it's on behalf of the board or not, but I signed the Chief Youth Awards, certificates, and I signed the certificates for who's ever chair signs their certificates for the community trip reduction. So
There is a big plaque, like right down the hallway here, and it's like employee of the month kind of thing. I mean, it's been like 15 years is the last one on there. I mean, it was like, I think it's like 2008 or something like that was the last.
Boys.
It was, yeah. I mean, long before I was here. I don't know what the history is behind that or how they used to do that, but there's a big old plaque that's got a bunch of names on it, but then yet stopped, I wanna say around 2008. It's the last name out there, but yeah.
I think these are good, feel good for employees recognitions, and while in this case, I know the employees will appreciate Justin giving the recognition. It also, to bring it to a commissioner level and for commissioners to acknowledge that, just provides an additional level of, wow, I've also got recognized by the commissioners. These are just internal employee, not just, these are internal employee programs and things that I think are important for the ability for the commissioners to sign and acknowledge them as well.
I think it's great, yeah.
yeah, I just didn't want to have to do a formal resolution every time I do one, that it should just be, we should be able to do that. So we'll develop a policy, but in the interim of the policy, the head nods are there.
Excellent. I'll stay with.
Yes,
Right there, shot. Okay.
yeah. So Justin's got those for his employees. I also have them for you.
Oh, Martha Lou.
Commissioner Kearns, just to let you know, that was an employee recognition program that originated in human resources. And the idea was that employees would nominate fellow employees for exceptional work ethic and productivity. And it kind of went by the by after a couple of years for lack of participation. We just weren't getting submissions. So.
Okay.
That's
Quite honestly, there's a lot of those that exist within departments. I know Public Works has some, I think the Assessor's Office has some, a variety of places have them. Which is a little more kind of tangible for those departments because they know they're.
See it, they're
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, just. that
No, I
way you don't
appreciate
have
it,
to
yeah.
Stay,
Appreciate that. Thank you so much.
perfect. Just since we're already off kilter on our schedule, that's,
No, it's great.
thank you, Justin. Okay, so then, we're gonna go, Tim, if are you okay waiting?
Oh, fine, yes.
Okay. So then we're gonna go with Kevin Ritchie with the Sheriff's Office.
All right, thank you. Good morning. Sorry about the schedule mishap. I double booked and had to get all together. So first off, we have the JAG Award, the Justice Something Grant. Anyway, it's the annual award. This is the 2003. It's a joint award between the city of Spokane and us. See that 214,815 was awarded in total, and 96,667 goes to us. It's gonna be used for various. We could use it for various things. I know they have 48,000 of it earmarked for surveillance cameras at the hangar, the new hangar we purchased, and then also the Valley Precinct. Because part of the money has to go to the Valley as well. So, so we're just looking for permission or for board approval to accept that grant award for 2023.
Justice Assistant.
The A was.
I had to scroll to
I
like,
knew.
I had
knew
to
what it
scroll
was.
to page 8
It's
before it was finally spelled out. Everything was just jag.
It's the Burn Justice Assistance Grant, right? Yeah.
Justice
yeah,
Assistance
yeah.
Grant, yep. Burn Memorial.
Burn
Justice
Memorial, yeah, that was blowing my mind. All right, then the second thing we have is the interlocal agreement with Millwood. Millwood approached us last year actually and asked, they caught wind that, Medical Lake and Deer Park entered into new agreements for dedicated law enforcement services, and so they wanted in, and so based on staffing, we couldn't really do anything this year, but for January 2025, we think we'll have enough people to give them one dedicated person, so they're going to be entering into a very, very similar agreement to what Medical Lake and Deer Park have. Where it's a total cost, so their 2025 cost is gonna be $318,270 per person, per deputy. And it'll go up by it's 3% a year, and they're signing a 3-year agreement, so. They'll have a deputy stationed in Millwood, probably in 410s Monday through Thursday or Tuesday through Friday. So that will kind of enhance the services out there, because it won't take away the District 8 deputy for things that are specific to Millwood. So it should be a good deal, and get another body out there. And so we're just looking for signature on that. The next is the Washington Auto Theft Prevention Authority grant, and we were awarded $170,000 for that. That money is going to be used for additional Axon fleet cameras for the vehicles and additional FLOT cameras for the Real-Time Crime Center. The fleet cameras are ALPR capable, and so they're going to be out on the road in cars. I believe there's going to be 14 of them, I believe, through this grant. And they'll be stationed, I think mostly in the valley, but we'll also have some fleet cameras that we're purchasing, or we did purchase through our 10-year agreement with Axon that'll be in the downtown too. So they're gonna do their best to kind of spread those around. But the emphasis, of course, is on catching stolen vehicles. So
like license plate.
yeah, the ALPR is the license plate readers. And then the next one is the DOT K9 training interlocal agreement. This is some of our, we have a K9 program, and they are patrol certified dogs. They want to move into dual certifications, and so DOC does training for drug K9s. And so one or more of the dogs, I think one initially is going to be go through the training program at a DOC. The only thing they charge is an administrative fee of $2,000, and it covers training fees and things like that. They don't, they don't. There are dogs, we house them, we bring them in, and so all of the cost of the dog is, of course, ours. But it's a dog we currently have, so we're not buying a new dog. And we're just looking for permission to enter into that agreement. That's all I have.
Commissioner? Kevin, on the Millwood agreement, a couple of us had talked to the sheriff about this. It was like 3 weeks ago. The 3% escalator is likely not matching what our labor costs are going to be. So he and I talked about ensuring that our contracts with the other cities have a provision that allows us to adjust when we have new labor contracts. I don't think you were there when we were part of that conversation. So that would be something I've just flagged here. Is it would be, we're basing this off of 2024, and we're going into a contract right now. So out of the gate, we will not, my assumption would be we will not be doing full cost recovery, which I believe the intent of this agreement is full cost recovery.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I believe the Medical Lake and Deer Park agreements expire at the end of next year, I believe, and so I think those would be easy to change. This one's been signed by Millwood board, so I need to send it back to them if I added any language in that. We can certainly do that. We got the number from the budget office. I know we can work with you and get kind of an update on what the escalator should be, or maybe just a paragraph saying that if
as contract negotiations.
As contract negotiations are complete, this can be adjusted.
Well, it says if this is the contract they signed under section 6, cost of service, there's a line in there that says the intent of this contract is for Spokane County to recover its costs while providing a methodology that is easy to implement and manage. So that's in there.
Yeah.
So
It is, I see that too, but the fact that we're setting a 2024 number off of for this contract, which is pre-contract, new labor contract coming up, my sense is that we will not be achieving that desired goal in here.
I would turn to legal to see if that would cover us if we serve them with a notice that it was gonna be more than what the contract says, but.
It would require agreement on both sides to be
That's fine.
effective.
That's what I was assuming, so I can reach out to Mayor Freeman and let him know that we may have to adjust that based on our. The status of our contract negotiations and shoot them over, or I'll send you a. Idea or language ideas and then send it to them and see if I can get it re-signed again and. If that suffices, then I can either come back and rebrief or move on from there.
I'm just flagging it as,
Yep.
you know, I know what, I understand what the intent is. I know that's what this was kind of created off of, but I just want to flag that as something I think we probably would not be achieving if we did it as it's written today.
I know, you know, with the smaller communities, they like to know what their costs are gonna be for the next few years, and so that's why I tried to craft these agreements to show them what their costs are gonna be in 2 or 3 years, and so. That's why we've done this way, but. I know they probably wouldn't enter into agreement, say, you know, where we would say, we'll let you know what it's gonna be for 2025, so.
No, I totally understand, and I agree. I think they want some certainty as
Yeah.
well, and I think we could still give them some certainty based on kind of what we.
Sure.
And we'll learn more later this afternoon. But is also the vehicle is provided as well. I see some designated like City of Millwood logos on there.
It is, they'll have a removable logo that the dedicated deputy will, and it's a county provided vehicle.
Okay.
But I believe that is captured in the cost.
Yeah, that was the total
Yep.
cost for all your operations.
I'll send you an email, we'll figure out what, okay.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for making it down.
Yeah, no problem, thank you.
Okay, so then that's gonna take us to our county clerk. So you know, check that.
Good morning, commissioners and principal staff. Appreciate the opportunity. Ours will be really quick. We were here actually to get you to ratify our AOC Blake grant contract that came in, our annual contract. I've already signed it as a Blake program manager, but we need the Board of County Commissioners to ratify it. And then Scott and Mike thought it'd probably be a good time, just to give you a quick update on where we're sitting with Blake and kind of what's going on. So the main goal today is to get you all to ratify that contract in your afternoon meeting. I'll talk a bit about that. I got Josh Frazier with me. He's my financial manager. So any money questions, please ask him. Okay, just a real recap on the Blake room. Remember back in February 2021, our state Supreme Court ruled that criminalizing drug possession was unconstitutional. So if you were arrested with drug possession or had drugs on you while committing another crime, those arrests were unconstitutional, and anybody arrested since 1971 until February 2021, we had 3 requirements that the counties had to do. So the counties had to, number 1, vacate and dismiss those counts and charges for all those people, 50 years worth. Number 2, we had to resentence anybody who was in incarceration because removing their drug offense would lower their offender score, which means they could be released earlier. So we had to resentence all those people in jail or in our correction facilities. Number 3, pay back anybody their money that they paid into the system. So any legal financial obligations, we had to pay them back. And again, that timeline is from January 71 to February 2021. Next slide. Never run this out. Perfect. Okay, so here's the good news story. The county's been working really hard at this. And right now we estimate that we have 25,224 cases available all the way back to December of 1990. So we've covered about 31 years. We think we have about 19 more years to cover. That's a lot of research and we're working on that right now. We vacated 3,427 cases already. We have refunded just shy of $500,000 to defendants that were owed money. And that's over where it says defendants, you'll see total refund is $456,133. Right below that is $116,000 waiting for final approval for these folks to be refunded. We've already resentenced 289. Resentencings are hard to figure out. We got DOC helping us. We think for right now, we've resentenced everybody that would be in any kind of margin that needs to be released because of the new offender score. So we feel comfortable where we are in resentencings, but nobody has a solid number on that. But here's a good news story. The legislature approved extraordinary expenses and LFO refunds in June of 2021. Since then, as you made me the program director, we've been getting refunds on LFO. So the county has not paid a single dime on LFO refunds or extraordinary staff work. We've been handling all that, submitting claims and getting reimbursed by the state. So what we're showing you here has been about 2,342 hours for my staff alone. And we've already done about 1,794 in late cases alone, LFOs, just those LFOs alone. We've been reimbursed $168,928 for all of our work, which is based off of our hour salary numbers. So it's pretty straight to the point. In addition to that, to help get this process done faster without using county staff and using county employees, we hired a part-time FTE who for $43,000 a year, up to $43,000 a year, can work our Blake cases for us. The state will reimburse us for all the work that she does. So that won't cost the county anything either. And the job is to have her help us do these Blake adjudications. You can see the prosecutor's office, the court, and the counsel for defense have submitted to me their claims over the past 3 years for their funding on their work, and we've requested those claims, and we've been reimbursed for those claims. That's in that blue box. So that's the money we've been reimbursed by the state for work done by your various departments. Counsel for defense and public defenders now have their own pot of money, so they'll be doing their own claims. Court's not doing a whole lot anymore except for the paperwork that we send them. So the majority of work right now is being done by the prosecutor's office and the clerk's office. And we'll continue submitting our claims for those two offices as we're working through the issues. So we've been at this for 3 years. We believe, looking at the numbers and the statistics that AOC is putting out, that Spokane County ranks in the top 5 in adjudicating Blake issues, both money and vacates and dismisses and resentencing. So we're really happy about that. We know King County and Pierce hired a lot of outside staff to do it. They have the money to do that. We prefer to use the refund process and have the state refund us. So that's where we sit right now. The contract you'll see this afternoon, that timeline is the same timeline of the other 3 that we have done. June of this year to July of next year, 1-year contract. We got $3.1 million plus solely for extraordinary expenses. We are no longer doing LFO refunds because the state is doing that. We do the orders, we do all the paperwork behind it, we submit those to the state, and in the AOC Refund Bureau, they directly repay the defendants. We get credit for the work done, we get reimbursed for our staff work for doing that. But we're not putting money towards the LFO defendants anymore. The state has a pot of money that they do that with. Legislature's granted $44 million, so we got $3.1 million for a year. And as you can tell, we're not even close to that number in the amount of work that we do getting reimbursed. So we're very confident that we're pretty good for a while. This will probably take us another 3 years. It gets tougher as you go deeper into the cycle. So going back from 90 to 71 is getting pretty hard to figure out who's owed money, who's not. There's so many systems out there we have to research, but we're working at. We'll do a good faith effort, find these people and reimburse them. But at some point, we'll stop our research and just close the gap on our 25,000 that we have right now. Okay, here's the contract information for you just to take a look at, but mainly it's an annual contract. You've seen them before. We recommend to the board that the board ratifies the contract. And again, it's 3.1 million plus a lot of extra change. We worked through the grants agency with Heather Arnold. We have a grant ID number assigned to this. We also work through Scott and Mike Barber, and then we also work through the auditor's office with our 819s to do the refund. So county has several departments working to make sure we do this correctly. It's done by the book. So that is really all I have. Unless somebody has any questions.
Tim, as I'm looking at the total refund amount and then, number of the blade cases, looks like it's about $255, on average. What's the most someone's been reimbursed? Any idea?
5,000?
I think the top case right now is 5,000, almost $6,000.
Yeah, we owed one person, and it was great. He called us like December 18th in tears, saying, I'm out of jail. I want to take my kids out. They want to meet me, but I have no money. But I'm owed $5,000, $6,000. Could I possibly get that money? So we put that into the fast lane, and he got his check like 21 December. So he could take his kids out. He wrote us a very nice thank you about that. That's the highest. In fact, the vast majority of these cases you're looking at, Commissioner, are zero refunds. They are owed nothing back.
Oh, okay.
So, because they put no money in the system. And as you notice, we have a small bullet up on the right-hand side where I put down a 201,000. That was when we were allowed to reallocate to their other open cases. So in Spokane County, we made the decision to have their refund go to their other active cases to pay the victims.
Okay.
The west side of the state did not do that, but where Spokane goes, the whole east side of the state goes. And so we had them reallocate that funding to the victims because they had other active cases still open. But we did that on their behalf to help them out because we didn't want to get hit by non-compliance for failure to pay any of their costs. But once the state took over the refunding of LFOs, that process stopped.
Thank you.
So that's our recommendation. That's set.
No, happy to do it. Thanks for coming in. We just, wanted to get a status update as to where we work and stuff. So really appreciate it. Always appreciate seeing you.
Spokane's doing well. Yeah, we pretty much think we're number 3 overall, but it's the same top 5 right there. Only 3. I gotta show those facts.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, I think we've got Randy and his done. Okay.
Commissioners.
Good morning.
Really, this is just a follow-up to an email. We talked a number of times about the Clean Buildings Act. We did the energy audit. The results of that to get to our energy standards was that we would need to do about $25 million in improvements. And then there was also another $10 million of infrastructure that is aging for some switch gears in 3 different buildings. So the total of those 2 together was $36 million. Just before I went on vacation, I sent out some information to each of you on different funding options. One was the company that did the energy audit, Johnson Controls. They, of course, would lend us the money at 4% interest, and they have a payment schedule net of savings, and the savings being energy cost savings, and then maintenance and operation reduction. Because we have newer equipment, we would repair that less. That was about $2.4 million a year for 20 years. If we went out for a bond, that would be about $2 million a year for 20 years. And if we did put some money down and didn't borrow everything, so Commissioner Cuny had asked about REIT dollars, we have about $9 million in that. This year we do grow a little bit more each year, about 1.4 million. If we, let's say, used 8 million of that to reduce the debt, that would take our annual payment down to about, if we did the whole thing. Just trying to figure out where, I know legal has done a good job of reviewing the contract with Johnson Controls. I believe that is at the point now where that is done. It's just, they need to know what number is going to go into that contract if we are going to do a contract. So really just looking to see where you want us to go next. you have any other questions that I haven't answered.
Such a big number to.
It is a very big number.
And to figure out, when we're gonna be hitting budget times, this.
Yep.
What, it's kind of like, this takes up all of our excess capacity.
It does, out of read, yes,
Out of read and, considering its future, we,
yes.
because there's no other way to pay for it. And then it takes that capacity of read away for other, other means we need to do to keep our facilities up to date. As we're doing it for these energy code
Right.
purposes, so.
I mean, the options, if you choose not to implement the study for the Clean Buildings Act, that would be $25 million less that we would spend. But I would say that the other 10 million for the infrastructure upgrades is close to critical.
No, and I agree with that, which we would have enough in rate between our fund balance and then what we come in next year excess to kind of take care of that.
Yeah, we could fund that 10 million over a few years too. We could
So,
pay ourselves back.
okay, I'm gonna go to Commissioner Jordan and then Commissioner French.
Well, one of the things I've just been trying to understand is what are the cost savings that the audit identified and what is the basis of those? And I guess the reason I'm interested in that is just trying to get a sense of what that cost really is. And so I had asked Randy for more information on that and I was sent a chart that kind of just listed the amounts of the utility savings and the O&M savings over the 20-year period. And it sounds like, based on what Ken Moore had said this morning, that the annual M&O savings relates to basically savings in terms of staff time. So my question is, Randy, I thought that we really needed to upgrade some of those boilers or repair or replace anyway.
Well,
and is that not included, and should it be included in kind of a true calculation of the cost?
Commissioner Jordan, that's a good point, because if we did not go this route, if we did not implement the energy savings, we would have to refractor, also the right term, the boilers, and we do have to continue with a class 1. Is that
Stationary,
a person has to be at the boilers 24 hours a day, and they have to have a class 1. Right now, those are harder to find. Whereas the new system, it goes down to a class 2 and you don't have to be there around the clock. Those are additional costs, you're right, that we would still have to incur. And we would not have the energy savings either. And again, those energy savings, I would say, are light only because they are guaranteed, Johnson Controls guaranteeing those energy savings. And so they are going to underestimate what those energy savings are going to be so that they don't miss on that target. Gil could answer the other question that Commissioner Jordan had better.
Commissioner Jordan, yeah, go ahead and repeat your question.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get a sense of if we did not do the efficiency upgrades piece, what is the cost that we would then have to bear to either replace, upgrade, maintain the actual boilers that we currently have?
Cost alone, I mean, so if we,
If we stay with the same system,
what's that?
if we stay with the same system we have today,
Okay.
and you had to upgrade those boilers.
Well, I mean, factory rebuild on something like that, I would imagine would at least cost us 1.5 million to
crane that thing out, get it on a truck, send it to the factory. Get a full tear down of it and a brand new refractory lining. New burner controls, you're probably looking at about $1 million to 1.5 for a full refurbishment of each boiler.
How many?
Four boilers.
More boilers.
That'd be about $6 million.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. French.
So what is the potential downside if we don't do any of the energy upgrades?
The
The
potential
25
downside is you have the penalty, which is $1 per square foot plus $5,000, if I remember right, per year.
Have to repeat the audit every 5 years. We have to do an investment grade audit, similar to what we did for the 625, which would be, it wouldn't be as much. They would just probably need to rework the numbers and see if there's any new technologies that they can propose.
Buildings under 50,000 square feet at the 2030s, we want to start looking.
Yeah. The total number cost wise would be.
It was, I'm going off of probably bad memory here. What was it per year for the penalty? Wasn't it?
Yeah, it was right around 750. How much? 750.
750,000.
750,000. Okay.
So your 5-year cost would be about $4 to 5.
Is that for all buildings or just the ones in the tiers that were out?
Those are just the 2 that are out. Yeah, because where we said we'd have to redefine our investment grade audit and not go really as a campus as a whole on one master meter. We'd have to break out the existing buildings that we were using to get those other 2 into compliance. So we would break those completely out, so we wouldn't have to pay the square footage penalties on those. And the buildings that we have were pretty minor in what we needed to do energy wise to get them into compliance. I'm just wondering if it was better to pay the fee than it was to invest in a program that, once the state starts looking at these dollars, they're gonna maybe back away. And so, just live in hope.
That's something I've wondered, I mean. We jump all in and dedicate all these, allocate all these funds. I mean. There's a lot of counties, there's a lot of school districts, there's a state that is not in great cities that are not in great financials. Yeah, so a lot of them are gonna be into situations where they're gonna be like, we just can't do this. And is that gonna make the state maybe scale it back, maybe give additional time, maybe, allow for a much more gradual, sort of easing into and it's just, how do you balance that? And if we go all in, sign a contract, we may be putting ourselves in a tough spot when, because we're in a better financial situation than a lot of other entities out there across the state. So, I don't know what the answer, how you balance that, because nobody knows what the state's gonna do and when, but when reality drops on a lot of these other entities, the state's gonna do something.
Well, 3 years ago, Western Washington University, they did this exercise and the price tag was $600 million. That's 3 years ago. So it's gotta be closer to, probably $750 million for one university.
Right. No, and I know that other universities, UW and all those are.
Yeah.
Have the same things, this that we're stuck with. Just a lot of those are older buildings. So I think that's where, as commissioners, we've just been kind of dragging our feet. I know you guys feel that way, but it's like, I don't know what the answer is.
At some point, you have to hope that reality sets in.
Yeah. I do know, like on the electric, you know, some of that
Yeah.
infrastructure that just needs to happen.
I
has-
think
has to
those,
happen.
and we were just leveraging that, we can definitely break those out as singular projects and get them in our future capital budget. We can certainly do that. I think that was one of our big concerns.
Cause I think we have to do that. I'm trying to just think of sequencing it. So what do we have to do that is really necessary, that we need to do anyway? That will then make it better as we look to what these things are in the future, cause a lot of the, you know, energy upgrades are lighting and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And so if we don't have this basis of having the not transformers, but the, you know, having everything we need set up, you know, the switches now, it's, you know, we're gonna have to do it with that anyways, but we also need to do it anyway, because you're worried about it failing. So how do we sequence so we're getting there, but not fully?
I don't want to run to the
There.
finish line.
Well, we can, if commissioners, if you would prefer, we can start putting those items in the annual budgets so that you can approve those. Maybe we do one a year or what, you know, go for the most critical ones first. If you would like to defer on the House Bill 1257, we can definitely go that route. We may also then have in the capital plan, need to look at, you know, refractory and vertical.
Yeah, I was just going to suggest the same thing. What I'm hearing is a desire from the commissioners to look at the critical pieces of our capital upgrades. Since we're going into budget season right now, already in budget season, we can factor those into our capital plan and starting with the most critical ones, come up with some recommended funding sources for the board.
That's all, that's the direction we need.
Okay.
If that's
just a
where
second.
you want us to go.
Commissioner Jordan,
Can you remind me what the time frame is when those $250,000 or $750,000 fines might start coming?
27. 2027, so we have about 3 years before those become a reality.
And then is there what was the reason to kind of start trying to make a decision on the either big loan or bond now versus later?
It takes about 2.5 years for this project to be completed and to order things and phase it in. So it was a lot because it needed to be completed in 26
For monitoring.
for
Yeah.
monitoring.
We had to monitor our energy usage on those, just to verify that we hit those standards for 1 full year.
Okay, so the work had to be done by 26 under the current clean buildings law.
Yes.
All right.
We just worked backwards on a timeline. If we were to achieve that, here's when we would need to begin the work.
I'll just say I'm struggling to figure out, as well as the whole board is, what the right thing to do is when there's different costs regardless of what way we go. And we just learned that there's maybe $6 million of keeping our current system up to snuff if we do nothing. So I'm just I'd love to see it really clearly laid out what the savings and costs are of either paying the fine versus making the upgrades. If you wait on some of the upgrades, I assume they go up over time.
So making those upgrades, those factory refurbishments on our boilers doesn't fix the problem. All that does is just puts us back to where we're a steam plant. We're still operating off of steam. It doesn't fix any of the EUI targets. It just gives us equipment that has a longer lifespan.
Are you saying it doesn't comply, right, with the law? No, I understand that. I'm just saying that if we don't make the upgrades, we also have some significant costs just to maintain our system.
Commissioner Jordan, I think I understand what you're asking for, so we'll I'll work with Gil and his team and put that spreadsheet together for you for information that if, you know, for you guys to take a look at to help with that decision.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Okay, that's gonna take us to Doug.
That's the last time.
Mary, on the morning for the Council of Governments and Fair, FIMSIP has already got, it's got a meeting that morning too, so I've got to attend that board. And then I'll come over for the fair, I think, so I'll probably miss the Council of Governments. Yeah. Can't do both.
Sorry, and I know, just so you're aware, Commissioner French has to leave at 11, so.
So you got 6 minutes.
Okay. Right. Okay, great. Well, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for some time this morning. We are, myself, Kurt Chambers, our Operations Division Manager, are here to speak to a restroom purchase that we would like to share with you and ultimately seek your support to move forward with this purchase and install. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Chambers, who has a very quick presentation we'll shoot through.
All right, thank you. So yes, as Doug mentioned, we're here to speak about a restroom purchase for Northwood Community Park in the Northwoods neighborhood. Our request is to purchase a prefabricated CXT unit, which is becoming our park standard across the system, utilizing or purchasing through a purchasing contract, Washington State Department of Enterprise Services, for the total of $124,056.70. Next slide, please. So the project location is our Northwoods Park, which is right next door to Brentwood Elementary in North Spokane, as you can see on the map. Next slide. And some background on the restroom at Northwoods Community Park. It was built in 1992. It's a stick frame, if you will. The restroom has reached end of service life. So it's about 32 years old. The design of the building doesn't allow for us to access the internal infrastructure, the plumbing. There's no pipe alley, no chase. So when we have plumbing issues, which we're facing, we have to tear walls out to access. So it's one of the only restrooms in our system built this way. It's quite cumbersome to work on, and we're facing several internal plumbing issues. Speak. The building replacement was identified in our 6-year capital and funded in the 2024 capital budget. And then, as I already mentioned, we're planning to use a prefabricated building, which comes with significant cost savings over time. Next slide, please. So we hope to replace it with CXT Cortez model, roughly 10 by 17. The bottom 2 pictures there are the ones at our Bidwell Park, so it will look very similar to that, same color, same footprint, creating a standard for us, which is easy to maintain, easy to process, and all the same materials. Next slide, please. Total project scope. So we will demo the existing, do some site rehab on the existing footprint. We're going to move the new restroom shelter a little closer to the picnic shelter. So we'll be adding an ADA walkway connecting the two. We'll be adding a gravel roadway pathway, if you will, for maintenance access off of Florence Ave, including a gate on the curb cut, so it's not accessible to the public. And then just some small infrastructure extending utility. Our goals on that obviously are to minimize any impact on the park, limit distance, maintain clean lines of sight for safety and use. And that's the primary objective of moving it, and then just to modernize. So the next slide shows kind of an aerial CAD drawing of what we've got, showing the existing on the upper left. That's moving east slightly in a clearing of trees. It already has a natural pathway through the trees, so you won't have to remove anything. It's all very natural. It's outside of the irrigation plan. Just have to extend utility about 8 feet. So the next slide, please. Next steps. The board authorized the project during next week, August 20th legislative session. Once that is done, we'll proceed with the order, which is 150 to 180 days out to get this unit. They're custom, with our end goal of opening and having it in use for our 2025 park season.
And you said it was we already budgeted for this.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's just authorizing the contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other
And that
questions?
is it. End of slide.
Okay, excellent.
Effectively, we're trying to get it done.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
Working through the list and Kurt and his team, I think, have done a really nice job. We also, this is one of the parks that has all new irrigation system in it. From the ARPA funds, they finished that, about a year ago or less?
Yeah.
And so I think the community is pretty excited for the refresh and the improvements. It's one of our older parks and long-standing, so I think it will be really, really appreciated by the community.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so we've got miscellaneous.
Jesse and Dr. Beth, I think, yeah, there's Jesse, there's Dr. Beth.
Okay. So I think we have finished all the items that were on our printed agenda, and we're now down to miscellaneous items. And so, yeah, so we'll start with Jesse and Dr. Beth.
So, hey, good morning, everyone. Really quickly, I know there's some time constraints going on. So just before I turn it over to Dr. Beth, thank you for carving out a little bit of time for us this morning. And then just wanted to express our gratitude for your continued support and of Scrap's mission. And I'll turn it over to Dr. Beth.
Are you muted? Sorry.
You can see Dr. Beth is walking to somewhere. There we go.
No, it's okay. I was on my surgery this morning, so I appreciate you guys and your time. The event that we have planned and hope to continue to proceed with is a spay-neuter fix of 100 public dogs. It is a collaboration event between Northwest Washington Spay-Neuter Alliance is doing all the surgical professional team, and then sorry, I'm gonna read on my phone so that we don't get feedback there. And then the funding was secured by Higher Ground Animal Sanctuary. Sherry, that manages that 501c3, had reached out and got a grant from Tito's they do animal welfare support to do such things as spay neuter and help population control. And so Higher Ground has secured the funding, and in collaboration with Scrap's Hope Foundation, they are providing the supplies for the event, kind of to work together. And then we have really skilled volunteers that help do some of these high volume clinics that are around our community through Mercy's Mission, Furry Farm, and also Higher Ground. And then Pet Savers is joining in on us, helping us do the intake and the discharge side of the event. So it's kind of bringing everyone's skills together and bringing us all together. And we're hoping to have the event hosted at Scraps because of the layout of the community room, bring down Dr. Laura Talega's surgical trailer, park it out front. There's access easy to the community room as well as our surgical suite here at Scraps. So kind of a good setup, collaboration event. Everything is funded and there will be no financial impact or ask from Scraps or the county besides asking to use the facility.
So it sounds like, so this is an event, everything's paid for, it's a community event to have people get their, is it dogs and cats spayed and neutered?
So this event will be focused on dogs only, so 100 dogs spayed and neutered. It'll has the scheduling, it'll be 50 spays and 50 neuters.
Okay. So is it something that we need to promote? I mean, I think this is something good to show the collaboration that is happening between Scraps and community partners that, you know, as we've had people talk about how we're not. So, I mean, I think that's a really good thing to be showing. So just a second, I see Pat just raised his hand.
He developed.
Yes, I know Martha Lou's there in the room. I think we have some proactive media outreach planned and have been working with Scraps to get her press release together.
So we have a press release draft that Martha Lou has been working with me on that has kind of all this collaboration knowledge in the press release. And then the sign up will be through like Higher Ground is going to release some information. All the community partners are going to release kind of our little mock-up information at the same time as the press release, if approved to go forward with this. And then it would, the community members, whoever sees it, first come, first serve, sign up. This, I will guarantee you, this will fill in 2 hours. It won't need a lot of promoting to fill the spots, but it's more so we wanted to bring this as the community partners that I work with outside of my day job are really wanting to show support for Scraps and Scraps Hope Foundation and say, hey, we're here to support you guys and like we're willing to try to work with and do these events. And Scraps would be a wonderful host location to try and help like show the community we are working, we have been, and that we plan to continue to work together.
Very good. Pat, I'm gonna let Martha Lou go. That's okay. Or do you want to say something else, Pat?
No, that's great. I was just going to mention that Scraps also had a recent educational program on animal cruelty that was worth highlighting. And we've had, there's a story in development on their foster program. We had a nice full page spread and the spokesman insert on the foster program as well. So just continuing the public education about all this proactive, positive community engagement is helpful.
Very good.
And strengthening those bonds with our community partners.
Yes, no, I think that's key. I think that's what's really nice for me as a commissioner to hear and see. So Martha Lou.
I hope you had a chance to see the front page article about kitten season and volunteers who foster kittens. They also have a program for puppies, and it's just right now is kitten season. Hundreds come in. So along with the Cindy Heibel article on fostering, we also have it on the front page today. So kudos to Scraps. And the positive media is beginning to really pick up. So I already have a news release ready to go when Scraps tells me they want it to be distributed. We will also promote this event on social media as well as on the website. And as Dr. Beth said, it's going to fill up fast, but it's more an opportunity to show the collaborative nature of our partners and that Scraps is working with them to benefit the community and reduce the overpopulation of dogs.
Thank you. Dr. Beth?
Our hope with the community partners in starting this is that we can also gain funders that want to support such efforts. Because if we can continue to get funders to support these efforts, the team that is putting this together, myself included, we are more than happy to put more of these events on and do more of these big fixes and make this a like every couple of months or, you know, something. So that's kind of the other push on this is if people are coming to you guys or talking about this or asking about this, this is not a direct Scraps event. This is Scraps is just hosting and is the host location. This is being put on with the Scraps Hope Foundation, and the community partners are funding it. So the donations and stuff going to the community partners, if people are wanting to donate, or the Hope Foundation. And that's kind of where a little bit of it is kind of odd, which is why I wanted to bring this up, is the Hope Foundation supports Scraps medical, so which is why they said they can provide the supplies, but they can't fund the entire event. They are looking to kind of adjust their core values as the community is needing more things such as accessible spay neuter, and accessible spay neuter for the public will help decrease the animals coming into Scraps, those unwanted litters of puppies and kittens. And we've seen unprecedented numbers of pregnant dogs and puppies over the last 2-3 years, post kind of COVID and all of the changes. So that would be a big thing I would encourage you guys to understand, is that a lot of this, yes, if there are donors wanting to, it's not necessarily direct donation to Scraps, because Scraps isn't hosting this, but these events and collaboration events, we're wanting to work together and continue to put them on. And we just thank Jesse for saying, yes, you can consider using our facility, and please, and then Kat asked us to run up the chain to talk with you guys.
Any other questions? I think it's great. So, I think a lot of times our buildings are used for community purposes, so this is a very appropriate use of that. And thankful to the community partners that are willing to come together, and the people that are volunteering their time to do it. So I think this is great, and it sounds like we've got a great promotion set up for it, and I look forward to hearing how quickly it fills up.
We'll let you know. I know Dr. Talega is on the scheduling side of things, and so they are prepared for the influx and the potential chaos that's going to ensue, and trying to work through that. But they're going to do all the scheduling and the follow-up, and like I said, all the medical side of the logistics of this project.
Great. Well, any other questions or comments? Yep. So yes, so thank you very much. Appreciate all your efforts, and excited for you to bring this to us and let us know, and excited that it's already set to get out. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Then yeah, Martha Lou, I'll follow up with you, and we'll set a date and time likely tomorrow, because we're a week and a half away.
Thank you, Beth.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then the other thing I just wanted to, as the COG is getting closer, which is the opening of the day of the fair, which is Friday, September 6th. I had Commissioner French just look at it quick. But the agenda that we have set so far is that the doors would open at 8 o'clock. 8:15, we do kind of welcoming and opening comments. We're just looking at the agenda to have Fairchild see if they can come and do an update. Since we've got all the community together, community electeds, to then do a little update on the Whatcom County visit, and just kind of what the next steps are from that, Commissioner Jordan. So just thinking that this would be a good time that maybe Emily Cameron and I would kind of do a quick presentation, just a couple of minutes on that. Then we would talk about Measure 1, the juvenile detention facility and jails sales tax extension, just so people are aware that the other government entities are aware of that. And then allow the city of Spokane to discuss their sales tax, sales and use tax for the community safety, to discuss that. So we only have limited time. We've got to like 10:15.
Can I ask you, you referenced Measure 1, do we know that
We
it's
could not
Measure
change.
1 or 2 or
It's Measure 1.
It is Measure 1, we did hear, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
We could not change it. So,
Okay.
So in the cities is Proposition 1.
They're props.
So, yep.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
So that is set. So, yeah, and the fair is opening a half hour early, so it opens at 10:30. So Erin would like to have everyone out to do the ribbon cutting at 10:15. So we're kind of compressed on our time, so there's not a lot of time. And then what I'd like to do is allow some time for you know, if there's 10 minutes still available to say, okay, any cities that have anything coming, you know, to let them just discuss that. So that's kind of what the agenda is, since I want to make sure everybody's aware of the agenda. Pat, I see you raise your hand.
Just on, not on the COG agenda, but on the fair opening, Martha Lou and I have been working with Aaron and the communications folks out there. They, I think, are interested in having the chair and vice chair make some remarks per normal. Other commissioners that are there will be invited to participate in the ribbon cutting. Since it's the chair's discretion on speakers, I just making that recommendation. There should be some remarks coming to your inbox soon, and then the remaining commissioners. Go ahead.
No.
Oh, and then the remaining commissioners, Aaron is interested in inviting to potentially announce some of the concerts to be on stage to speak to those attendees during the actual, some of the headline concerts that are taking place. So that was the initial fair plan.
I have that in concerts.
Okay. Yeah, if we're kind of switching it up, because I mean, in the past, we've just had everyone speak, but I get with 5 of us, it's getting harder to have all of us speak at one time. So yeah, let's just talk through that a little bit more, Pat, to just see kind of what we're thinking. Commissioner Jordan.
I was gonna say on the Whatcom County thing, if you would like any help or feedback on that, just let me know. Happy to assist in any way.
Perfect, thank you. I requested that Emily put together just a quick slide. So just kind of letting the main group kind of drive it, since we're really more just participants, but yeah, thank you, I appreciate that. I will take you up on it, make sure that, you know, it's saying what we both want to say. Scott.
Oh, I was just gonna say that I think Erin was reflecting last year. I think some of the people at the ribbon cutting were getting a little antsy to get in. So her suggestion was to still give the commissioners some opportunities with what Pat said is the chair and vice chair opening remarks, the ribbon cutting, and then each of the other commissioners have an opportunity to introduce the headliners for the concert series. So
some of the speakers who I don't think had traditionally been there went long with their remarks, and it was past opening time and we still have cut the ribbon last year. So maybe we need to make sure folks stick to their time, or we start a little early and be done before the fair is actually open. So
That's part of why I'm requesting as the chair that maybe we have a discussion to go through that. So, you know, just to understand that, so from both perspectives. Okay, that was the miscellaneous I had. Any other miscellaneous? Chris.
One quick one for this afternoon, Madam Chair. We're gonna strike item 5B from the agenda, just needs a little bit more work, and that will be renoted for next week, I believe.
Strike 5B. Yeah. Okay, and then I do have, I didn't know we have these, so that we've got a couple of executive sessions.
Yeah, I have 2 5-minute executive sessions for this morning, and then as I think there's maybe some for this afternoon as well that are gonna be a little longer.
Okay.
Two separate. Do we need Al and Amber here?
The ones that I have are more updates, and I can update them individually. I can probably
Well, and
forward with it.
yes.
The other
And
ones,
it's
yes.
kind of if I'm not informed that people are not coming here, I'm not going to change the agendas. So, you know, because I didn't know you were going to be here today. So, like, just make sure, yeah, I know directly, and I apologize on that. And then I didn't know Commissioner Frank was leaving early, so because when we do have executive sessions, they always take so. Okay, so we will do the one now, two now that we're gonna discuss, and then we will have two this afternoon. So everybody puts that in their schedules. Kyle,
Before you go into executive session, can I just give you one other tiny miscellaneous?
so you haven't this list yet, come on.
I just wanted the board to be aware, we could, a week ago, there was a fire at the Smart Center Waste Management Recycling Operation Facility out in the West Plains here. We had a regional collaborative effort to get, kind of a plan of action together inside that building. They have basically a day or two of storage, working with ecology. They were given a waiver to be able to bale the recycled material, place it outside. It appears they will have all the parts in about 8 days. I think they got everything on Sunday, and they're working 24/7 right now. They think they'll be going 24/7 for 8 months. That should do the interruption of that flow of materials, but nothing needed to be diverted to landfill or waste to energy. That is, they were able to store enough on site, but they are just that interruption in service means that it's going to take over a month of the repairs going around the clock to catch up with the waste stream.
Okay, yeah, thank you for letting us know. Okay, so would you like to state your?
Yes, I have two matters for executive session under pending potential litigation pursuant to 4230-110-1I. Both matters should take each matter should take approximately 5 minutes. The first matter should involve the board, CEO Scott Simmons, myself, and Wesley Kaw from our office. Second matter should involve the board, Scott Simmons and myself. Neither matter requires any action.
Okay. And each are 5 minutes.
Correct.
Okay, so it is 11:20. We'll be going into executive session for 10 minutes for the items just stated. No action was anticipated. So at the end of that 10 minutes, we will adjourn to this afternoon, and we will take up our afternoon agenda, and then we will have two executive sessions at the our 2 o'clock agenda. Again, timing for everyone to know. And those executive sessions are expected to be 20 to 30 minutes each, so we'll be in for an hour approximately. So, okay, with that then we will now adjourn for the morning and go into executive session.